Dr. Disrespect and his studio Midnight Society announced earlier this week that their new game, currently titled Project Moon, is going to integrate NFTs. This news, of course, comes before any official trailers or really detailed descriptions of the game itself, and only hours after the announcement, Midnight Society already had to issue warnings about phishing scams. Before we get into everything, let me provide a little context. If you weren't aware, Dr. Disrespect has partnered with a few known game developers to start his own studio in the pursuit of making his own multiplayer PvP game. Outside of that, not a lot of details are known about Project Moon. If you go to the About page on the official Midnight Society website, you can see the collaborators listed. It says here, Midnight Society was founded by mega gaming star and former Call of Duty developer Guy Dr. Disrespect Beam, Call of Duty legend Robert 402 Bowling, game designer Quinn Del Hoyo, who worked on Gears of War and Halo, and art director Darren Bacon, who worked on Destiny and Halo as well. The description adds a revolutionary project is backed by serial gaming and esports entrepreneur Sumit Gupta. So obviously some talent here. If you remember, Robert Bowling was a creative strategist and a community manager for Call of Duty. He just seemed to be the face of Call of Duty for a long time, way back when things really ramped up for the franchise. And he eventually, left to make his own studio called Robotoki, which eventually never ended up shipping a game. But, these are game veterans. These are people with known achievements. They're known in the industry. There's actually a really brief description of Midnight Society's game Project Moon on the website. It reads, Midnight Society is focused on delivering the most community-focused online PvP multiplayer experience the world has ever seen. Also, you can read here that it's built in Unreal 5 and kind of a quick statement about early access and a founder's pass, which we'll get into in a second. So other than that, not a lot has been said about Project Moon. Given Dr. Disrespect's history as a streamer as well as a game developer, he used to work as a level designer on Call of Duty games, back at Sledgehammer. We can assume that this game is probably some type of FPS inspired by either Call of Duty or PUBG, could be a battle royale, could be both of these things mixed together, updated take on Warzone or something, but even that much hasn't really been confirmed. That's part of what makes the news about NFT integration in Project Moon a bit unflattering. The other part is the effort Dr. Disrespect and the Midnight Society went through to completely omit using the term NFT in the marketing and the call to action around encouraging players to sign up and pay for early access to their game. The original Midnight Society tweet reads, "This is it. Create your Midnight Society account and claim your free Series 0 Claw Day 0 unit patch. Apply for Founders Access for a chance to be one of the first 10K to drop into Project Moon. Only 8 days left to apply." And then there's a link for the Midnight Society official website. Now, there are only 2 things to contextualize in that tweet, but you might be surprised at how much more complicated this whole thing's about to get. So basically, if you dig your way around 3 separate landing pages and an FAQ, you learn by signing up for a Midnight Society account, which right now just kind of seems like a mailing list. You can get that free patch mentioned in the original tweet, and it is in fact an NFT. So if you sign up for this thing, yeah, you do get a login, but there's nothing really there. You don't really get anything. It says that it's generating a wallet for you. It might be broken right now. We'll talk about it in a little bit. So after you verify your email address and click claim, a unique wallet is generated for you and tied to your account, and the patch is tucked away in there. According to the FAQ, the wallet is specific to Midnight Society, but can be utilized for both traditional forms of payment, like credit cards, but also has the ability to transact with NFTs and other crypto assets, as well as other Web3 wallets. And here we start getting into the weeds. The second thing mentioned in the original Midnight Society tweet is the Founders Pass. And again, after digging around on the site, you learn that what's actually being offered here is the possibility to buy a Founders Pass for $50, which itself is also an NFT. The additional catch is there are only 10,000 Founders Passes, and you are only eligible to buy one if you pass an application process, which involves you linking your stream and social media accounts, as well as answering a series of questions. So Midnight Society can basically assess your value as a community member and presumably what you can also contribute during Project Moon's early development. According to the official blog post written by Robert Bowling explaining how everything works, the goal of the application process is actually to eliminate profiteers or non-community members with no interest in the long-term development of the game and the Midnight Society. So on one hand, it seems like a good vetting process to preemptively eliminate crypto bros and NFT collectors from coming in and messing with things, but on the other hand, it sure seems like they want qualified contributors and established content creators to participate in unpaid QA work, basically, for Project Moon, which is then kind of propped up as a revolutionary collaborative effort between fans and developers. Obviously, early access has been around for a while, and in the case of a game like Hades, that type of relationship between fans and devs can be incredibly powerful and positive, but it feels weird in this case where there are so many qualifiers to be eligible to participate, and also there isn't a build of the game available to anyone yet, and nobody's actually really seen gameplay. So according to the website, the process is going to take about 3 to 4 weeks from now, and if you actually get approved and are able to buy a Founder's Pass, you'll get unique in-game cosmetic items, early access to game builds and weapon tests, voting rights on game features, exclusive access to studio events, first dibs on merch and future NFT drops, and early access to the game's guild system, which seems like it's going to offer some type of revenue share for select members. It's really a lot to try and wrap your head around, especially for a game that, again, doesn't really exist yet. The weird thing is a lot of game studios have already tried to announce integrating NFTs into their games, and for the most part, it's generated so much ire that pretty much every established studio that's tried has had to do a 180 and issue a "we've heard you" apology tweet. There was even a story on Forbes recently that said that the trend seemed to be dying down, but I think in this case, what's actually happening here is the NFT or metaverse trend or whatever isn't dying down as much as they're just using different terms to describe that stuff. They're collectibles instead of NFTs. It's a decentralized market, which basically implies the use of cryptocurrency instead of a centralized market, which means, something like the Steam store. And yeah, we've even done polls on this YouTube channel asking if people would be interested in NFT games. And, the answer obviously was a resounding no. People really don't want this stuff invading their games. It feels like an extra layer of monetization as a focus for game developers instead of like just focusing on making the games good. And that extra layer of monetization doesn't really seem to be offering any value to like the design of games, or it doesn't really seem to be pushing the medium of video games forward. And clearly these new concepts and the way the technology works is largely disliked by the wider gaming community. It's most certainly why the Midnight Society and Dr. Disrespect haven't used the term NFT or blockchain in their initial announcements, and it's even hard to find the terms on the official Midnight Society website. In fact, at the bottom of the Founder's Pass FAQ, there's a question that asks, "Are you developing a blockchain game?" And the answer deflects to the How All This Works blog post that Robert Bowling wrote, and it very conveniently talks its way around outright saying NFTs or blockchain game. However, near the very bottom of the post, Bowling addresses both concepts, writing, "There are 2 core facts we want to make very clear to all of our audience, including those who embrace decentralization and those who want absolutely nothing to do with it. Midnight Society is for all of us. If you want to have a completely centralized account, play the game, unlock items tied to your account which you use, and enjoy as you normally would, that is completely fine. If you want to have a decentralized account where you are the custodian of everything you own and able to sell them outside Midnight Society on the open market, you are free to do so. Allowing players to choose between making their in-game items NFTs or not certainly is a unique approach that we haven't seen yet, but it makes you wonder, if you have a perfectly functional digital marketplace without NFTs, why bother messing with them at all? So anger over NFTs usually boils down to 3 factors. The first is the environmental aspect. The energy it takes to mint NFTs is significant, but according to the FAQ on MidnightSociety.com, minting the Founder's Pass NFT is about the equivalent of 2.5 emails. So they're reducing the environmental impact by using a different process for minting. That's, okay. The second issue is kind of this idea that NFTs are just another intrusive form of microtransactions, kind of like I mentioned before, and that they ultimately could be used alongside pay to win or pay to participate mechanics. Now, the doc and messaging on the official Midnight Society website have claimed that this won't be the case. They're saying you're not going to be able to pay to win. So they're trying to clear these different issues as they come up. But lastly, one of the more prevalent issues that's much harder to get away from is that the value of NFTs are based on a speculative marketplace and an artificial scarcity, making them an ideal commodity, a beacon really for scammers and grifters. In fact, like I mentioned at the top, Midnight Society already had to tweet a warning about phishing scams within hours of their initial Founder's Pass announcement. Not to mention, again, we are talking about digital items which can easily be duplicated. So even though it seems like Dr. Disrespect and Midnight Society are doing their best to round off all the edges, NFTs and blockchain games still haven't really provided a compelling argument for how they actually improve games or make them more fun. At a more base level, the doc has a very large platform and a lot of fans that he can get hyped up to spend money on games or merch or whatever, But what feels weird in this case is, again, there's no product here, at least not yet, and we haven't actually really seen it. Announcements around the ability to spend money on, in, and around Project Moon have taken precedence over even a rough concept of what the game will actually be. At best, it feels overly confident or presumptuous, and at worst, it's kind of predatory. The best bit of visual context around what the game will be is provided in these kind of little profile pictures, which feature an avatar, like geared up, and they have weapons, you know, they look like player profiles. You can see this in the doc's original tweet about the Founders Pass announcement, in which he said 50,000 people already applied to become founders. Note here, the characters aren't wearing the Day Zero patch, but it does look like Project Moon will be a futuristic sci-fi shooter. And again, it's probably safe to assume that it's some type of battle royale. Also note the visors in the image are also NFTs, referred to as visor cortices, as I listed off before. Each founding pass holder will be issued a custom visor cortex or a variant of visor cortex. Right now, it's kind of unclear if each variant really is unique or if there's like 20 of them and then it's just a lot of palette swaps, right? You can see the Midnight Society Twitter account is promoting these kind of profile images as well, as they kind of encourage players to apply for passes. And yeah, it all feels a bit cart before the horse. This probably isn't the best analogy, but imagine buying the accessories to a car before even seeing what that car looks like or knowing if it works. And then also keep in mind that the manufacturers of the car have made cars before, maybe at other factories, but never at their own. So again, it's kind of a weird analogy, but I think you could kind of just apply this. Like imagine buying anything else this way. And the messaging from Dr. Disrespect on a recent stream, as well as kind of on the website, is that these NFTs and these kind of cosmetics, they're not going to affect the gameplay at all. So they kind of just become more like digital trading cards. And then at that point, it's like, that's kind of a different thing than this multiplayer game that you're making, even though it's kind of in universe or whatever. It's just kind of a lot of extra things going on when you haven't actually effectively convinced anyone that you're actually making a really good video game, right? You've said it, but you kind of have to prove it or at least pitch it a little bit, I think. In addition, if you kind of like read through this stuff on the website and kind of like in the tweets and stuff, it's a little bit confusing because they have all these kind of custom nouns that are in fiction, right? Like if you play the game, you're considered a claw, and there's just like all this different language around it. It's being used, and the hierarchy being set up with the Founders Pass is made to make players feel like they're part of a special club with cool collectibles for a great new game. But really, it's just, the promise of early access with NFTs. And to add to that, even if players do opt to stay within the centralized marketplace that Midnight Society creates, the ability for another set of players to take their digital goods to a place outside the market could easily still affect what happens within the centralized market, or even impact what Midnight Society decides to focus their development resources on, as a game developer. And that's like one of the other major concerns. If they're focused so much on the monetization efforts of NFTs and these cosmetic items, are they actually gonna have time to like make the game good, right? So even if you kind of have now these like two separate ways to play, if you can choose to play without NFTs or turn your digital items into NFTs, Midnight Society is giving players the ability to interact with that side of things with an open market that heavily uses cryptocurrency, which has its own set of problems. I think that still implicates Dr. Disrespect and Midnight Society in that system with all of those negative trappings, right? With all the baggage that comes with NFTs, as well as all the baggage that comes with cryptocurrency, which a popular cryptocurrency is Ethereum, which doesn't use environmentally friendly method for mining coins, right, and minting. To make things even worse, they have actual developers working on this game, but they totally did the NFT or blockchain game thing where they are taking people's money before even really pitching the game, before really showing off what the game is. And you're just taking it on faith because Dr. Disrespect is this big online personality. As a personal take, I don't know if any of this is going to be cool, right? Like, I know NFT evangelists on the far side, they're saying this is the future of gaming, right? This is the next big thing and everybody's going to be doing this. And that kind of language is used on the Midnight Society webpage. I don't know about any of that. But what I do know is kind of talking about this stuff and kind of hiding it, kind of weirdly just talking around it to not get people mad about what they're doing, seems kind of shady. And I think we should be skeptical of this. We should be skeptical of these like new monetization practices that are largely unchecked. And look, surely Dr. Disrespect has enough capital alongside his wealthy investor to fund a studio, and I don't doubt a fairly interesting game is actually in the works. But even established and veteran game developers make flops sometimes, and a lot of things can go wrong between now and the handful of years leading up to launch. Dr. Disrespect has been problematic in the past for a number of reasons, so maybe it's not too surprising that he's adding NFT or blockchain game to the list. But anyways, let me know what you think about Project Moon and this Founders Pass. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video right here on Inside Gaming.